Well, I think, Doug, you can kind of maybe riff on this. I know you were working with something you were telling me about called the G8 New Alliance, and how they've kind of kept small farmers out of the decision-making process. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a little bit first about what Katie Campbell might have said if she was here, because I know Katie very much wanted to be here and can't be, and I hope she's watching on the live stream. We'll send some positive thoughts your way. But Katie works for a project we call the Public Financing for Agriculture project. ActionAid is present in 45 countries in both the northern and southern hemispheres, and we're a human rights organization working on the right to food and women's and children's rights. The Public Financing for Agriculture project gets women farmers to look at their national agricultural budgets, and it's working with groups of actually thousands of these farmers in 4 countries to go to their governments and ask for more public financing for things like agroecology and things like basic rural infrastructure. African governments have actually already pledged to do this. They pledged to raise their spending on rural areas and on agriculture by 10%, and up to 10% of their budgets, and they pledged that in 2003, and they've recommitted to it in 2014, but it hasn't happened yet in most countries. And as we know, that's a key, and it's been very, very good in parts of Asia in really addressing hunger. On the negative side of that, so we can get women involved in speaking to government. Some of the international development processes are going in the opposite direction. So we've got the G8 New Alliance, which was set up by the G8 during Obama's presidency of the G8 in 2012. And through 2012, 2013, they negotiated with 10 African countries, G8 governments and African governments, and private sector investors to make policy changes to African governments agree to policy changes that would bring in more private sector investment. And this involves changing seed laws, and this involves in making land available to investors. So for example, in Tanzania, the Tanzanian government currently plans to set up 25 large-scale farms, and on average, each of these farms is the size of the city of Washington, D.C. And this is supposed to, trickle down to benefits to smallholders in some way, but smallholders haven't been a part of this process at all. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done to bring smallholders, and they have organizations, bring their organizations into the international development dialogue.